What's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to Get Hit with the Truth. So today, discussing my what's next on Robson Conceicao, the former world title challenger, as he returned to action on Saturday, January 29th, when he took on undefeated contender on the rise, Xavier Martinez. And another fight where surprisingly an undefeated prospect contender with a so-so record was favored over a guy who has fought for a world title. And I say that again because remember back in October, there was the Xavier Vargas, even though he hadn't really beaten anybody significant, was favored over Jose Zepeda, surprisingly. And you saw what happened in that fight. Zepeda knocked the fuck out of Vargas in the first round. Well, we had a similar situation with this fight. You know, Robson Conceicao just dominated Xavier Martinez in this fight. I mean, it wasn't even close. He completely outboxed and outclassed and hit Martinez with everything. And, you know, Martinez showed a lot of heart. He's a tough kid, but his performances, you know, against Juan Carlos Burgos, who's a faded former, you know, world title challenger, and then Claudio Marrero, being able to compete with him. To me, I didn't think that this guy was going to be able to compete with the likes of, you know, of Conceicao, after Conceicao had that just epic performance against Oscar Valdez in a fight that he, you know, maybe he should have won. A lot of people gave him that fight. So I was kind of baffled that so many people weren't giving Conceicao the love. You know, and maybe they thought he was a one-hit wonder, but he went in there and he dominated Martinez and left no doubt. And this was some kind of a WBC eliminator. It wasn't a final eliminator as far as I know, but Conceicao is still seriously in the mix to compete for a world title again. And now we got to see what's next for him. Well, obviously, he's going to have to at least wait for the winner of Valdez and Shakur Stevenson, who are fighting at the end of April. It looks like the 23rd or the 30th that they're going to be locking horns of April. Personally, I think Shakur Stevenson's going to dominate Valdez that night and unify the two world titles. And then is he going to want to make a mandatory in his next fight against Conceicao? I think he's going to look for a bigger name opponent. Maybe he'll fight Conceicao. Maybe he'll have no choice. So Conceicao can see what goes on. But I think the more realistic thing is the WBC is likely going to order a final eliminator between Conceicao and Oshikwe Foster, who's also, or who's, I don't know if he's undefeated, but I know Foster got a big win over Mickey Roman, the former world title challenger. He defeated him a couple of years back. That made Foster somewhat of a player, and he's continued to win since. So Foster's ranked, I believe he's at number 5 right now. Or no, he's at number 3 in the WBC. And what's his name? Miguel Richelt's at number 1. And you know, Conceicao just won an eliminator defeating Martinez. I think he's probably going to go up to number 2. And I'd be expecting Conceicao and him to lock horns. I'm sorry, geez, I'm drawing a blank. I'd expect Conceicao and Foster to lock horns in a final eliminator. It's an easier fight to make, and I can just see these two guys going at it to determine the number 1 contender. And they might even be determining the next WBC champion, because we don't know if Shakur Stevenson, if he beats Valdez, or if Valdez beats Stevenson, if they're going to stay at the weight, if they're going to want to hold on to both belts. They might give up one belt in order to search for bigger fights. So we'll see what happens there. But again, I think it's very likely, in my opinion. I haven't gotten any indication, but just my basic knowledge and how things work, that I can very much see Conceicao and Foster locking horns in a final eliminator. Now, if that's not the case, you know, I don't know. Conceicao might just have to stay busy, because I really don't see another top 10 guy fighting him next. You know, I've ran through the top 10. It looks like Burchell and Jamel Herring, who are 3 and 4, are moving up in weight likely in their next fight. They're likely both going to move up to lightweight. So I doubt they're going to want to take the challenge of a guy like Conceicao with his skill. Shavkat Rakhimov at number 5 is going to likely be moving on to fight Kenichi Ogawa, who's number 6 for the IBF title. Roger Gutierrez at number 7 is fighting number 10 Chris Colbert for the WBA title at the end of February. And then the other guys in between that, Lamont Roach Jr., and I forget who the other guy is, but, those guys are lining themselves up, and likely it's a promotional thing that's going to stop that from being able to happen, because Conceicao's with Top Rank. So I really believe Conceicao is likely going to fight Oshikwe or Ashaki, whatever his name is, Foster next, and go from there. Unless, like I said, unless they make Conceicao, the WBC makes Conceicao the number 1 contender for the WBC belt right now, and then he fights the winner of Valdez and Stevenson, which I don't know if the winner's going to want to fight him, but maybe they will to hold on to their belt. So we'll see what happens, but that's what's possibly coming up for the former world title challenger Robson Conceicao, following a dominating 10-round unanimous decision victory over previously undefeated Xavier Martinez on January 29th. I hope you guys enjoyed this. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.